Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent computer role-playing game. And some weeks I define the term role-playing game more loosely than others. So this week let's take a look at Hero of the Kingdom 2. Developed and published by Lonely Troops, it was released way back in 2015. Why am I even reviewing this one? I mean, it's technically got a story, exploration, character advancement, puzzle solving, combat, just completely non-standard to almost everything I'd ever encountered in an RPG. It's effectively a point-and-click item hunt game, with all of the RPG elements kind of centered around finding/gathering resources by picking them out of the environment. So why am I reviewing it? Because it is technically an RPG by my standards, by the standards I just mentioned, and I happened to pick it up one time and it's been sitting in my library, so I admit it. I'm just trying to get it out of the way, out of the queue. Now, why am I reviewing the second one when there's actually a trilogy of them? Because apparently it's the best one, at least from what I'm reading, so I figured I'd go with the one that, is best. I completely understand if I've just had a viewership drop off a cliff right here. Anyway, let's get started with the actual review. Hero of the Kingdom 2 begins with you and your sister escaping troubles and finding a small fishing village to stay in. After starting to get on your feet, the village is attacked by pirates and your sister is taken. You must set out into the world, gathering things to fulfill quests for people so that you can learn new skills to gather new things, so that you can gather more things to handle more quests, so that you can expand the places you can reach to gather more things, all while gathering other things to keep yourself in good health so you can afford the strain of collecting all those new things. Yeah. So in terms of gameplay, a lot of things pretty much follow the same system, and you're introduced to small variations of it throughout the game. There are not statistics or ability scores per se, but there are resources, some of which are permanent or semi-permanent additions to your character, and which may represent ability scores and skills in other games. Resources may be as simple as various food and tool types, but also encompass various skills and even party members. All resources are listed in your inventory, at least once you earn them, and are split into 5 types. First are character resources. These are your basic resources, including fame, which you get from performing good deeds and finishing quests, and occasionally lose from some actions. Stamina, or health, which you may refresh when resting at various places and expend by undertaking strenuous activities or combat. And finally, gold, which you can find or obtain by selling items. The second and third categories are gathering and harvesting skills. These are skills that you learn through quests and during play that enable you to gather more resources. Gathering skills unlock the ability to pick up items on the map, for instance eggs or mushrooms that are just scattered around. They are scattered around the various areas. You can pick them up simply by clicking on them once you get the appropriate skill, and they cost pretty much nothing to pick up. Harvesting skills, by contrast, unlock interactions at certain areas of the map. Harvesting tends to be more involved than simple gathering and generally requires both stamina and a tool of some sort to even attempt to gather them. The fourth major category are your allies and party members. Rather than detailing other characters in depth, you can earn friends through quests, hire mercenaries, rescue people, and so forth. Quest and escort NPCs are added to this area and are treated just like expendable resources that you turn in when you finish the quest. Mercenaries are hired from a camp and are expended during certain fights. Finally, friends are earned through quests and may simply tag along with you, fulfilling the requirements of certain turn-ins without actually being expended. The final major category is the inventory items. These include pretty much anything you can pick up: tools, resources, treasure, whatever other items you encounter during the game. These can be used to fulfill quests, do trade-ins, craft things at various places, and so on and so forth. Food of various types is used to rest in general areas. Tools are used to accomplish certain tasks. Treasure you can sell at certain stores, and so on. And this brings me to the main gameplay. You unlock elements of this as you proceed through the game, so your experience may vary at first. Generally, the world is represented by pre-rendered screens depicting individual areas. About these screens are scattered items and interaction points, with interaction points being in bright yellow. You may move from screen to screen once they're unlocked simply by selecting the arrow interaction or by using the overall map. There are 4 icons on the screen, each one in a corner of the screen. The exit icon takes you to the main menu. The question mark icon offers a hint based on your current state. The inventory icon lets you review your resources, and the compass rose icon opens up the map from which you may fast travel to relevant screens. Clicking on an interaction may offer a variety of different options, from gathering, to resting, to fights, to quests, to stores, to crafting and exchange. While they have different interfaces, they all follow some basic rules. There's a dialog box which may have some text, a list of icons representing the resources required to perform that action, then the option to accept or decline the action. If you have a resource, it's got a check mark, and if you don't, it'll have a red X. If it will take the item, it has a number beside it usually, representing how much of the item it will take. This does vary. For instance, when you shop, it'll show you an entire series of items and totals of gold, and what items or amounts of gold the exchange will result in, along with an exchange button under each individual transaction. When you craft, you'll get something very similar, except it may require multiple items for one exchange for an item returned. But the basic premise is the same. You exchange items for a result, be it another item, a finished quest, a restful night, and so forth. Combat is done very similarly, although interestingly enough, different creatures require different outlays of gear, some of which are expendable. I presume this is to represent the fact that you're basically just an up-and-coming peasant in a relatively low fantasy realm and have to take these on doing certain tactics. Clearing a monster generally doesn't grant you anything in particular unless it's a quest-type monster, but may offer access to items behind said monster, thus requiring you to clean out certain monsters in order to advance on some maps. Some creatures may require more than just the right weapons, but may also require the expendable items I mentioned, such as poison or mercenaries, in order to bypass them. Advancement comes in the form of opening up further sections of the map to advance the story, gaining fame or renown, which will open up certain quests, and learning skills that you need to gather certain items. It's abstract, to be sure, but at the end of the day, it boils down to what you'd expect of any casual RPG. In fact, I've covered some with even less advanced systems in this past. Graphically, each screen is rendered in great detail, and the artwork is rather wonderful. There is a general lack of seeing characters move around besides basic idle animations, so that part is pretty much static. Ordinarily, I would have liked to have seen more movement, but since this game relies so much on object hunting mechanics for a fair variety of the resources that you acquire, I can definitely see where that'd actually be a distraction and to the detriment of the game. The music is fairly pleasant, suitable for a background of any adventure, although I will admit that it does get old after a while. The writing in the form of quests and NPC leads is alright, average at best, although the storyline seems to focus on a more down-to-earth, humble origin than a lot of RPGs out there nowadays, and I fear that my bias in favor of such stories shows in that I really did enjoy what story I came across in the game during my time playing it. So how is Hero of the Kingdom 2 overall? It is at its core a hybrid RPG / point-and-click item hunting game aimed for the casual user. As such, your mileage is going to depend entirely on whether you find that amusing or not. I personally did not think I would, but I got so involved with the game that it constantly turned into one of those just a few more minutes types of games, and I actually had a hard time putting it down. There was a certain amount of tedium when finishing various small quests, but if you're enjoying the gameplay, then that really doesn't count against it so much. I personally feel kind of like if there was more in the way of these minor quests, it really wouldn't make me like the game that much. And from what I read, Hero of the Kingdom 3 did go that route, so take from that what you will. All in all, for a casual, feel-good sort of story with easy mechanics that appeal to a resource-gathering fan, I would recommend looking to pick it up at least on sale. But if you're not in that particular niche of player, then you'll probably want to give this one a miss. In fact, this entire series a miss. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here. Next week, I will be covering a game from a developer that I already covered some time ago in the past, so hopefully that'll be an interesting one. For now, this has been the RPG Crawler with my review of Hero of the Kingdom 2. As always, I'll put a link to where you can get it in the description below. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you're still watching this far, I'd like to take a moment to thank those who have supported this channel via Patreon or direct donations throughout the years, without which this channel could not have lasted as long as it has.
For those who are feeling particularly generous, you can still support my work through Patreon and now through Subscribestar as well, through the links in the description below.